Hey everyone, I am Fran.
And I'm James.
And we're the Jacksons. So we are, is this called a tutorial?
No.
Oh, no.
An episode.
An episode, I'm sorry. So we're doing an episode of BlackLove. We've been together, we've been married together for a little over, we met in 1999. August 1999, so that makes it almost 20 years, or a little over 20 years. August this year made over 20 years. Anyway, we just kind of want to share with you all about our ups, downs, good, bad, rich or poor, to death do us part. A lot of people always compliment us, say that they admire us a lot. We are each other's best friends, and we just want to give you some insight on how we got here. It was a work in progress. It was easy because we are soulmates, but we don't see eye to eye on everything. But we worked through that through communication. So when we met, that's what this episode is about, when we met. So when we met, I was 35 years old. I was a single parent, divorced woman. I had been a single parent for 10 years. And I was in and out of different relationships, looking for that king, for my knight in shining armor, my soulmate, of course, a role model for my son. And so when I met him through a girlfriend of mine. Her name is Sybil. Her and her husband introduced us on August 22nd, 1999. So that's a little bit about where I was when I first met him. What about you?
Shout out to Sybil and Johnny.
Yes.
Who introduced us. We're the same age, so I was 35 as well. I had been divorced also for about a year when I met Fran, and also have a daughter that's biological, and she has a son that's biological. So we're a joint family, but our kids, they act as though they are, biological brother and sister. So it's a beautiful relationship with them, although we're a joint family.
Okay. So the night that we met, Sybil and Johnny had invited me. I went to school with Sybil, high school with Sybil. And so she invited me over to her home on a Sunday for a spaghetti dinner. And it was my son and I. We went over there, and after we got done eating, we had came and sat outside on the porch. Even though she had said to me before I came over there, she wanted to introduce me to her neighbor. And I just was like, no, I'm waiting on God to bring me my soulmate. But I'm going to come over there and eat, because I had actually just lost my job. So I was taking that free meal. So we were sitting on the porch, and he pulls up, and he goes into, they live like in row homes. So he lived directly next door. So he went into his house, and my girlfriend Sybil went into hers. After, like I said, we all was sitting on the porch, and next thing I know, he comes out of his house, and he walks up to me. I was sitting on the step, and his knee was bleeding because you had just got finished playing basketball. So he
fell on the concrete.
Oh, poor baby. And so I won't go. It's really, well, for me, if I went into detail about that, I was very nervous around him, and I was that type of female that no man made me nervous, but for whatever reason, he made me very nervous. He was just handsome, and it was just something about him. I couldn't put my finger on it then, but I can now. Anyway, Sybil's mom had made all of them go in the house, including my son, and she left Anthony and I, who was Anthony then. That's how I was introduced to him, as Anthony. We were on the porch, and we was just chit chatting, and his corny line was,
Love at first sight.
"Do I believe in love at first sight?"
That's why I asked her the question. Yes.
And I was like, this is just so corny. Who says that? But hey, that was his line. We exchanged phone numbers, which I really didn't want to do, but I did it. And then what happened? Oh, we went out.
Yeah, it was the best thing that could ever happen to you. But yeah, we went out.
Yes, it was. It was, absolutely.
Yeah, we went out.
We went out. So our first date was when you invited me to dinner. At first, it was just supposed to be you and I. But then you changed plans where you were inviting.
I was inviting Sean and Tanya on a double date. Sean and Tanya were about to be deployed. Sean's in the military like me. And he was about to be deployed to Japan, I believe it was. And so we did a double date.
And I was reluctant because my social skills were horrible, and I kind of didn't really want to do the date with him. But now you asking me to do a double date, so I kind of went along with it. He came to my house. He set a time, said, "I'm gonna come pick you up." He came to pick me up, very, very punctual. I'm surprised because you always late. But you were very punctual.
I'm punctual when I need to be.
Oh, okay.
It's the military in me.
Okay. So he came to my door, and my father always said, "A gentleman will come to your door, not blow the horn for you." So he came to my door, and he had these beautiful flowers, lily of the valley, and I didn't really know what they were then, and I wasn't used to anyone giving me flowers, but they are now, and have been all these years, my favorite flower. So I put the flowers in water, and we dashed off to go on this date. When I got outside, he opened the door for me, and we drove to your mother's house, well, the home that you were living in, which was your mother's home. And when we got over there, he had he just showed me around. And so the living room was the first room, and he showed me his mother had just recently passed. And what was the date?
April 26, 1999.
April 26. So it was still new. So he showed me her obituary. So I did get to see her through pictures and the little story that, you know how it is in the obituary. Not enough to really get to know someone, but I could see that his mother was everything to him, and that was very touching to me. But what was strange was that he took me upstairs in her bedroom, and he showed me how her clothes were still intact, still the exact same way they was when she left here. And that was just very touching to me, because it was like, probably now I understand it, like a fresh cut, you know, and you're not ready to move on from that. So I'm saying that to say he opened up to me, and that just was everything. I wasn't ready for it then, but just to let you know that later on I got to see what I was dealing with. A very kind and gentle person, but at the same time strong alpha man. So we go off to dinner to a restaurant in Columbia, Maryland. When we got there to the restaurant, he opened the door for me, took me by my hand, walked me to the restaurant. Again, was not used to that. I remember my father doing things like that when I was a little girl. He would grab me by my hand, and that was the protector, and that's what I wanted, but still not seeing it, the big picture. So we go into the restaurant, and we sat down, and I wasn't ready for that type of conversation. I felt out of place. I didn't feel like I had any input on these three people that I was with. So I go into the bathroom in the restaurant and sat up on the sink and called my girlfriend Alicia. Thank you, Alicia, for making me get off the phone. I was just chit-chatting with her because I had ordered my food and I wanted my food to come out when I came out the bathroom so I could do limited talking. And so she was like, girl, get off the phone. You're being rude. So that's what I did. And when I came back to the table, he asked me, he was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And we ate. And then he put his arm behind me like this. And he told Sean and Tanya, he said, when y'all get back from Japan,
I'm going to marry her.
Oh. That was just so cute. But at the same time, I was looking at him like, no, we not. So,
yes, we are.
So, that was our first date. Our second date, I believe the second date, I invited him over, and I think we might have watched a game or something, because that after August, does the game start coming on, like probably September? Okay. So anyway, watch TV, and okay. But for some reason, I want to think that it was basketball. You think it was football? I think it was basketball. Yes, you did. So, when is playoff season? I want to say maybe it was the playoffs.
It might have been. End of June is when the finals are going on.
Okay. Anyway.
July.
Yup.
End of June.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay, it must not have been that because y'all see, I'm not into sports.
Mm-hmm.
So the next day he came to my house. We watched that in the living room, watched TV. I think I just felt obligated because he took me out to dinner. And then the third date was his house. He invited me over to his house, and it might have been like 7:00. He asked me to come be there at 7 for dinner. He was preparing a meal, and instead I went to the mall. I was dating this guy, and I really liked him. I thought he really liked me, and I went up there to say to him, like, look, I want to be with you. Basically, that's what I came out and told him. I'm trying to be with you like that. And he was like, I'm not trying to be with you like that, though. So he sent me on my way. Like, he didn't have a car. I don't know what I saw in him, but maybe just being desperate for a man. I've been known to, I don't know if it's desperate or I just like companionship, just couldn't find the right companion. So anyway, I left him at the mall and finally went over to Anthony's house and probably got there like about an hour and a half or 2 hours later. And he had candles burning and candles.
You were almost burned out.
And what did you fix?
Recommendation from my boy Mike. Shout out Mike. I think it was shrimp. Who was it?
Shrimp Alfredo.
Shrimp Alfredo. Yep, something like that.
Yeah, yeah, and it was delicious. You had salad too. Yeah, the whole kit and caboodle. And so we had dinner, and then he had his, ladies, that famous male line. Let's go upstairs in the bedroom and watch television, watch a movie. That's what we went up there to do, was to watch a movie. So we was up there watching a movie, and one thing was leading to another, the kissing, and which felt so good. You are a great kisser. You really are. You like to kiss too.
Me too.
Oh, thank you. So we was kissing and things was moving a little fast, and I was trying to put the brakes on it. That would last all of maybe 2 minutes, and we would go back to kissing, and in my mind I just kept thinking about, I was waiting on God to bring me my king, my soulmate. And but our bodies were almost like glued together, being drawn together. And hey, what happened?
You couldn't keep your hands to yourself. So one thing led to another. And it was on. And I was handling my business. So.
Yes, you did. And he's mine. And ladies, I'm going to share with you. I saw fireworks. And never seen them before. Nothing never that strong and that powerful. And anyway, I was done. I got what I came for, I guess, even though I didn't come for that, because the whole fornication thing was bothering me at that time. So I was like, well, let me move myself from this space and leave. And so I go head on downstairs, and he came behind me, and he was like, where you going? And I'm like, I'm leaving. I wanted to be the one to say, I'm dismissing this before he would have said it to me, because it was still early in our relationship. And normally when women give it up like that, the chances of it going for 20 years, actual marriage, you kind of would never think that, huh?
Yeah.
But you just never know.
Never know.
So anyway, he got emotional on me because I was ready to leave. And I'm sharing this only because, that was a part of you that made me see you so differently. I saw this alpha male. I saw this king, this strong man, and he got emotional. He shedded a tear, and it was basically, I guess he really did have, you said love at first sight when you met me, but at the same time, I was exiting in the way that I was exiting, and you just had your mother to exit your life, that you was not really prepared for at all. Wasn't expecting that. And that connection that we had, those few first dates, and also I'm sure we were communicating over the phone and things like that. So we got, we was in a warm and fuzzy stage, so that's probably, he got emotional. And me personally, I had never seen a grown man cry before other than my father. And that right there, my father is, when I say alpha, that's my daddy. And I wanted a man like my father, who was that alpha male, who was that protector, who was that giver, that man that knew how to make his woman his best friend, and open the lines of communication, however those lines of communications are, through your voice being elevated, or it's called ups and downs. But anyway, that went off a little bit. But when he shedded those tears, and I knew it was, he shared, I just lost my mother. My heart was heavy for him because his heart was heavy, and I'd never seen this before. And I was like, this man must have really, 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 really loved his mother. And only thing also I'm thinking about was like, okay, in my mind, like, wow, that's deep, that's dope. But the sex was so good. Can we go back upstairs and do it again? And he was like, no, I'm not touching you no more. But we went back upstairs, and you put it down again.
Drop the hammer.
Drop the hammer, yes. So that's just to say that ever since that night, we have been together. Outside of him being deployed, we have been together. And this is our beginning, how we got started. Hope we wasn't too transparent, but just to share with you all that all beginnings aren't what we dream of them to be. That wasn't how I would have thought that I would have met my knight in shining armor. But it was a beautiful beginning. And we just wanted to come out and share this with you guys. And anything else you want to? Oh, so I talked about where I was in relationship wise. Where were you relationship wise when you met me?
We had a lot in common. I was newly divorced about a year. Had one child, biological, as I mentioned earlier. Um,
But was you
and
seeing someone when you met me?
I mean, I had been in and out of relationships during that year, but I didn't want to jump right back into anything really, really serious. I was still mourning my mother's loss, newly divorced, so I was still trying to figure that whole thing out. Um, and, you know, when you came in my life, it's like some things you don't have control over, and it just happens. And so that's kind of where we were. So you just roll with it. And that's what I did.
Okay. So this is our beginning.
Yeah, and I will just say that for the gentlemen and the fellas, you know, chivalry is not dead. So you know, you have to continue to do those things for your lady. You know, and still be that strong, you know, provider and alpha male. But it's okay at times to show your vulnerability. Real men do cry, so it's not a knock on us at all.
No, because it would take a real man to be able to show his vulnerability. So, anyway, so that's going to wrap that up. And until our next episode, and we hope that this gives someone some insight on relationships or in your marriage. Think back to your beginning and how you felt, and I don't know. Anyway, just make sure you.
We're gonna post this and on social media, so you can comment. We're going to do a YouTube channel, so you can subscribe. Send us some comments, and we will give you some responses and feedback.
Absolutely. And until the next time, best in health from the Jacksons.